Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, come in. Sit down if you can find a seat anywhere, because Ezra Miller continues to divide the dceu fans about him writing another script for the Flash movie with a comic book legend whose name escapes me. I remembered it 5 minutes ago. Never mind. So I was watching an interesting video. I was seeing John Campier's video and his take on this situation, right? And he wasn't very complimentary. He said he loves Ezra Miller's version of The Flash. He actually likes the DCEU, even though it's got a lot of heat. But he said it isn't an actor's place to do that. But what I liked about this, because he's got someone else on his show who kind of gives his take on things. So when this guy gave his take on the thing, I thought it was really good, because what it was, he was saying, yeah, normally I would agree with you, John, but this guy is, very well regarded at Warner Brothers. He's gone through a bit of a hard time now with the films that he's done lately as well. Fantastic Beasts 2, a lot of heat around that film. Obviously, the DCEU was a very divisive franchise as well, whether you like the films or not, and I do. So my take on this is that Ezra Miller is a young man who read the Flash comics as a young man. He's a big fan. This was a dream gig. He picked this. It didn't pick him. He picked this. He could have chosen whatever he wanted to do at Warner Brothers, and he wanted to play the Flash. So he's ever so passionate about this. Ever so passionate. And I'm very interested to see his idea. Now, the Hollywood Reporter article said he wanted a darker take. I still think there'll be a mixture of light tones and light tones in it, but I think it is a very interesting situation. Now, this was reported last weekend. Now, apparently this week he was going to hand in his kind of idea, at least, not necessarily a full script and outline. So it's going to be very, very interesting what Warner Brothers decide. Now, John Campier believes that this is just to make it look like that they gave him a chance, and then Warner Bros. Will announce that he's stepping away from the project. But, as I spoke about, was it yesterday or the day before, that the two people who have already written their kind of version of what they want the Flash movie to be, which is literally kind of a Back to the Future kind of feel to it, which to me sounds like a really, really excellent idea, especially for the Flash character. I still feel this could go either way. But I have said this to you guys before, that he's a very well-regarded guy at Warner Brothers. So it's not as simple as just letting him go. That's not what they want to do. Now, at the moment, Warner Brothers is a bit of a rudderless ship, because they don't have a CEO, they don't have a chairman, they don't have a leader, but they've got some really, really good, experienced people there. So that decision might have to be put on hold until that person comes in, unless they've already chosen that person and, it just hasn't been announced, because they like to choose their times because of how things work in business and stuff. So it will be very, very interesting what happens. And I'm talking about this a lot because I think it's such an important situation. Now, some people have said to me, this is typical Warner Brothers and the DCEU. What a mess that an actor has to do this. Well, I don't think it's a mess at all. And I think John Campier said a great thing, that here goes the fun, we're going to ignore it yet again because we've got serious things to talk about. But I think John Campier did make a really good point as well, which I've actually forgotten what I was going to say now. What was it that John Campier said? I'm trying to think. Yes, that's it. Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada inherited this mess. It's not his, and he's trying to do the best that he can with it. So, Walter Hamada's kind of been approached by Ezra Miller, and he's probably thought, well, do you know what? Before we go with Daly and Goldstein's idea, let's see what this young man's got up his sleeve. And if it is any good, and after all, he's writing it with a comic book guy, he's not doing this on his own. So he's got some support there. What's the worst that can happen? The beginning of production is still November from what I understand. So this is, I think like Ezra's been writing this thing for a while, so this is not kind of something that's happened now. So I think if they approve it, they just have to find, I assume, that Daly and Goldstein won't be directing it if they do approve this. And with Daly and Goldstein already having a project with Universal greenlit, it kind of does show that maybe the decision has been made to actually back Ezra Miller's concept, which is really, really exciting. So if we move away from that, I just want to talk about the DCEU. I want to talk about how I remember my experience of going to see Batman v Superman in a cinema out here in Cyprus on my own. I was so excited for this film. And I went to see it, and I remember how shocked I was at how different it was, how indie it was. I absolutely loved it. I remember sitting there when the Senate building exploded, and you just see Cavill's face as Superman, seeing all these people burnt alive. And I thought, this was so compelling. It reminded me of The Dark Knight so many ways. And I thought, while I was sitting there thinking, people are going to love this film, critics are going to acclaim it. Now, I didn't know the shitstorm that was going on the internet while I was watching this film. And I come out, and it was such a divisive movie online. And I couldn't believe it. I was so shocked. It actually felt like I was the only person in the world who appreciated this film. But then, one day, I actually did a video. I did a video, and I think it got quite a few thousand views, you know. It wasn't on this channel. I had another channel back then, which wasn't a big deal. I didn't even have a name to the channel or anything. I wasn't doing regular videos, but I felt compelled to do a video. So then I started to meet some really interesting people. Then one day on YouTube, I found Ping Pong Flicks. Ping Pong Flicks, let's get that right. And obviously that's Chris Wong Svensson, who's a big Snyder fan, a big DC fan, a big Superman fan. And I remember him doing like the commentary for Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. And that's how I started following that guy's channel. Then I started to realise that I'm not alone here. I'm not the only one who loves this film. Millions of people around the world love Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. The DCEU appreciate what Zack Snyder did for the franchise. And then I realised, yeah, it's not just you, Mick. There's so many people who love this. And it was just really nice not to be the only one. Because I thought I was going crazy. I thought, how can people hate this film? I understand why. I understand why, especially die-hard comic book fans. And I think the major issue was the way that Superman was represented. And for a lot of comic book fans, and I think a lot of fans in general, it wasn't their Superman. It was, some people unkindly have nicknamed Cavill's Superman in BVS Emo Superman. And I get what they're trying to say, but this is just a group of people's vision. But I suppose in a lot of ways you've got to give credit to Warner Brothers for allowing it to go ahead, because this film could have made so much more money. And it didn't. It did well, over 800 million, but obviously a Batman and Superman film's got to be making maybe $1, $2.5, maybe even $3 billion globally. But it didn't, because it was a very divisive film. But I feel that it's interesting that people who don't like it just call it a bad film. Batman v Superman, if you don't like it, isn't a bad film. It's just that it's not the way you want Batman and Superman represented. But mostly, even the people who hated the film loved Batfleck and loved what they did with Batman. Ultimately, it depends what your perception is. I love the film, but I understand why the people who didn't like it didn't like it. But I never thought while I was sitting in the cinema that it would cause such division and heated arguments. People are still arguing about this film. It's amazing. This film has a legacy all of its own. I don't understand the Mickey taking of the Martha moment. For me, that is really compelling, but to a lot of people, it's stupid. And it just goes to show you what a wonderful thing the internet and social media is. Everyone's allowed to air their opinions, and you see all these different opinions. One thing I don't want to see in the world is everyone agreeing and just thinking along a line. But now you've got this kind of situation, this place where the internet, where we can all air our opinions. We can have videos, we can go on Twitter, @MoviesTVMad, by the way, come follow me. But basically, I love the fact that I met all these different people who either didn't like Batman v Superman and loved Batman v Superman. I'm assuming if you like BVS and you love Snyder, you're subscribing. If you're just discovering me for the first time, please like, share and subscribe, because I do a DCEU video every day, the DCEU Daily. It's here for the fans. When there's news to break, I break it. Sometimes I miss stuff, I admit it. I don't kind of report every single little thing, but the big stuff, you're never going to miss out on. So thank you for tuning in on today's DCEU Daily. Please let me know your experiences of watching Batman v Superman, whether you hated it or loved it. Let me know how you felt. Did you think people would love it after you saw it? Did you know that people were going to hate it? Let me know of your memories of BVS.